AITA for sitting in my armchair with an object after finding clothes leading to our bedroom. The smell of my own whiskey in the air was the final straw. Upstairs, moans and laughter echoed without a care in the world. I took a deep breath, clutched the cold steel in my hand, and leaned back in the armchair. When that door opened, I would be waiting. I sat in my favorite armchair with the heavy equalizer in my hand, waiting for the lovers to come downstairs from my bedroom after they finished their intimate activities. I had moved my armchair from my office and placed it at the foot of the stairs, out of the line of sight for anyone coming down until they reached the last step. They were so absorbed in their passion that they heard nothing. I had returned early from a business trip to surprise my wife, Lydia, with a trip to Hawaii. But the surprise was on me when I walked into the house to find a trail of men's and women's clothing strewn across the floor, leading up the stairs to our bedroom, apparently ripped off in a frantic rush to get to the bed as quickly as possible. While I waited, I called my partner, who handled the criminal cases at our law firm, and told him what I found when I got home. I warned him that he would probably need to bail me out of jail later. He told me he would meet me at the police station and asked me not to hurt anyone too badly. I told him I would try to control myself. I picked up Lydia's lover's pants and found his wallet with his ID, credit cards, and pictures of his wife and kids. Then I grabbed his cell phone, which he had left on the coffee table out of habit, I assumed. That told me this wasn't his first time here. I called his home while I waited. I think I wanted company, someone who would understand the pain of betrayal I was feeling. The phone rang 3 times before an extremely angry woman answered. Hello? It's nearly 1 in the morning. Gregory, where the hell are you? You jerk? Yesterday was your daughter's 5th birthday, and you broke her heart. If you do this again, I swear I'm divorcing you. I'm sorry to wake you, Mrs. Nash, I replied. I didn't realize the time. Gregory is otherwise occupied at the moment, so I'll have to pass along your message later. Who is this? And how did you get Greg's phone? She demanded furiously. My name is Russell Kane, and I found his phone lying on my coffee table when I arrived home from a business trip, I answered. Mr. Kane, you wouldn't happen to be Lydia's husband, would you? She's Greg's assistant, she asked. Yes, guilty as charged, unfortunately. And my soon-to-be ex-wife appears to be much more than just an assistant to Greggy boy, I replied. She didn't seem to catch my tone and shot back. I don't care how busy he is. Put him on the phone right now, or tell him not to bother coming home ever again. Oh, Mrs. Nash, I don't think he'll be able to come to the phone anytime soon, much less come home. First, he'll have to wait for the paramedics to finish patching him up after I use this on him for sleeping with my wife in my bedroom, in my bed. I have to say, I'm a little upset with Greggy boy and my soon-to-be ex-wife, I said calmly. What did you say? She screamed. Yes, they're upstairs right now, having fun with what little sense they have left. But I didn't have the heart to go up and interrupt them now, because that would make a mess of my bed. Besides, I'm so furious I might miss and end up hurting them both. So I'm waiting down here because I know Lydia always likes to have a drink after an intense session of intimacy, I explained. Oops, I have to go now. I think I hear footsteps coming down the stairs. If I can, I'll have Greggy boy call you soon, so stay by the phone. At the very least, I'll have Lydia let you know which hospital the ambulance takes him to. No need, she said coldly. I don't want to see or hear his voice ever again. Mrs. Nash, please, think of your children. They will hate you for preventing them from seeing their father while he recovers in the hospital. You don't deserve that. From what I can tell, you're not at fault in any of this, I warned. Neither are you, she sighed. All right, I'll wait for your call then. She hung up. As I waited, my mind drifted over the life Lydia and I had built together. 7 years of marriage, a beautiful house in the suburbs, weekend trips to the lake house. I had given her everything I possibly could. My heart hammered in my chest. A mix of rage and sorrow washed over me with every passing moment. Every memory we shared now seemed tainted. Every, I love you, she told me while I was away on business, now felt like poison in my veins. The betrayal hurt more than any blade could cut. I looked at our wedding photo on the wall. We looked so happy. Had it all been a lie? Did she ever truly love me? My hand tightened on the cold steel as I heard a noise from upstairs. The unyielding metal against my skin was a reminder of the choice I had already made. There would be consequences for them both, not just tonight, but for years to come. I would make sure of that. Lydia, still recovering from Greg's 3rd round of lovemaking that night, thought she heard a noise downstairs. Greg, did you hear that? She asked. Gregory was so busy admiring his own prowess at seducing married assistants that he heard nothing but the sound of his own hand patting himself on the back. No, Lydia, I didn't hear anything. But now that you mention it, it sounded like I heard someone's voice, though it was very muffled. Yeah, I'm not sure what it is, but I think I'm hearing something. Oh, it's probably just the answering machine recording a call from Russ, Lydia replied. What's that idiot doing calling after 1 a.m.? He has no common sense, Greg grumbled. It is so late. Russ never calls after 10 p.m. He doesn't like to wake me up in the middle of the night. It must be an emergency for him to be calling this late, Lydia said, getting up, slipping on her robe, and heading out to check the answering machine for the message. Gregory, considering himself God's gift to women, didn't bother with a robe and just followed Lydia downstairs, completely naked. If nothing else, he would help himself to some of my Glenlivet. He had grown quite fond of my favorite single malt, just as he enjoyed sleeping with my wife. Gregory smirked to himself as he followed Lydia. He had been sleeping with my wife, drinking my premium scotch, and using my bed for months. There was a thrill in taking what belonged to another man, especially a powerful lawyer like Russ. In his mind, Russ was just another straight-laced suit who didn't know how to properly satisfy a woman like Lydia. As the vice president of operations for Meridian Corporation, Gregory was used to getting what he wanted. When Lydia started as his executive assistant 6 months ago, he targeted her immediately. The ring on her finger only made the conquest more appealing. It took some effort, casual touches that lasted a little too long, late nights at the office, compliments on her appearance that crossed the line from professional. But eventually, she gave in. The first time was after hours in his office. Once she crossed that line, the thrill of the forbidden was intoxicating for them both. From there, the affair escalated to hotel encounters and, finally, to the marital bed while I was away. He'll never find out, Gregory assured her countless times. He's too busy to notice. As Lydia reached the bottom of the stairs, she realized something was wrong and stopped so abruptly that Gregory bumped into her, nearly sending them both to the floor. Gregory was about to curse at Lydia for almost tripping him when the living room light suddenly switched on. There, sitting in the armchair less than 6 feet away, was me. Lydia let out a shriek, and all the color drained from Gregory's face as he saw the dark equalizer in my hand, aimed at the two traitors. The blood drained from Greg's face as he stared down the dark barrel pointed at him. His heart hammered in his chest, and he suddenly felt very naked and very vulnerable. This was not how this was supposed to happen. I was supposed to be in Chicago for 2 more days. Russ, it's not what you think, Lydia stammered, but she saw in my eyes that her life was over. Shut up, you stupid traitor, I said calmly to Lydia. She collapsed to the floor as I turned to Greggy boy. Well, at least I won't have to buy a new robe. I suppose I should thank you for that. Sure, I'll need new sheets, a new bed, and a new wife, but you can't have everything. Can you, Greggy boy? Greg started to back away, looking for an escape, when I fired a warning shot into the staircase banister to halt his flight. The deafening roar echoed through the house, splintering the wood and sending fragments everywhere. Lydia screamed and covered her ears as Gregory froze in place, his eyes wide with sheer terror. A trickle of urine ran down his leg as his bladder gave way. So now I'll have to buy a new banister too. You're getting expensive, Greggy boy, but don't leave yet. Not on my account. We have so much to discuss, so much to work out, and so little time. You owe me a lot for sleeping with my unfaithful wife, and we need to settle accounts now. I turned to my darling wife. How long, Lydia? How many times has he been with you? I know of at least 3 times tonight alone. But of course, I don't know when you started or how many times you betrayed me with him. It must have been many, many more, I asked the weeping Lydia. And don't you dare lie to me, Lydia. Lydia realized from my calm tone that I was absolutely serious and would show no mercy. They would be lucky to get out of this alive. 6 months, Russ. We've been sleeping behind your back on all your trips for 6 months. I have no idea how many times Gregory has been with me. And no, we didn't use protection, Lydia confessed. My God, it sounds so filthy talking about it like this. 6 months. Well, and no protection. Were you trying to get pregnant? She shook her head as I turned to Gregory. And you, Greggy boy, no protection? I need to get tested for STDs, don't I? Oh, yes I do, don't you think? But tell me, Lydia isn't the only clueless assistant you're sleeping with right now, is she? Come on, Greggy boy, be honest. Gregory said nothing. He was beginning to feel extremely embarrassed, standing there at the bottom of the stairs, naked in front of a madman holding the equalizer pointed directly at his private parts. Lydia was in shock. She had never even considered the possibility of passing an STD to me from Greggy boy, and the fact that she had never thought of it horrified her. Oh my God, Russ, I'm so sorry. I didn't even think about the possibility, but I took birth control pills the entire time. What a thoughtful cheating wife you are, my dear. Oh, I guess you're not my dear anymore, are you? You haven't been for at least 6 months. Was Greggy boy the first, or were there others before him? Greggy boy is the only one I ever cheated on you with. You have to believe me. I only love you, Russ. This was just physical, she said. No, Lydia, I don't have to believe anything you say. And it wasn't just physical, it was everything. Besides, I don't think you could ever really love me. You destroyed our marriage, my trust, and my dignity. You broke our wedding vows. You denied me any chance of having children with you and might have ruined my health, as well as your own, because of this careless, unprotected intimacy with this man. I shouted, the pain in my voice cutting through the room's silence like a sharp blade. 7 years of marriage reduced to this filthy scene. The tickets to Hawaii in my pocket, meant as a surprise for our anniversary next week, now felt like a cruel joke. I turned to Greggy boy. Now, what am I going to do with you, Greggy boy? I paused for effect. Well, let's see. For starters, I'm suing you for alienation of affection, which will result in my divorce from the unfaithful woman I was married to. Then I'm suing your company, its board of directors, and its officers for failing to enforce the company's morality clauses. But that's not even the best part. I saved the best for almost last. I tossed Greggy boy's cell phone to him. I had a very enlightening conversation with your wife while I was waiting for you two to finish your intimate activities. By the way, you really shouldn't treat your daughter like garbage. Yesterday was her birthday, and you missed it just so you could sleep with my wife. Oh no. Russ, you didn't, Lydia exclaimed, horrified. Oh yes, I did, I replied. By the way, Lydia, did you happen to tell Greggy boy here what I do for a living? She shook her head. I continued, well, Greggy boy, I'm one of the top 3 divorce attorneys in this state, and the other 2 work for me. You can be sure your wife will have the best possible representation in the divorce proceedings against you, and we won't charge her a cent. Gregory turned to make a call when I added, you, on the other hand, Greggy boy, are going to pay dearly, literally. Then I shot him in the right buttock. He collapsed to the floor, crying like a baby, screaming repeatedly, you shot me. You shot me. Consider yourself lucky I didn't kill you, you coward. I yelled back. I looked at a shocked Lydia as I called 911 for police and an ambulance. I had already contacted my office, and my criminal lawyer was on his way. After hanging up, I turned to Lydia. When the ambulance arrives, find out which hospital they're taking your lover to. Please be kind enough to call his wife and let her know. That way she can bring the children to visit him while he recovers. It's the least you can do after ruining their lives with your adultery. Lydia just bowed her head and said nothing. The county jail cell smelled of sweat, disinfectant, and despair. I was sitting on the cold metal bench with my back against the concrete wall, waiting for Colin Mercer, my partner and friend of 20 years, to arrange my bail. My right hand still felt the phantom weight of the tool I had willingly surrendered to the officers who responded to my 911 call. They had been professional, almost sympathetic, after they understood what had happened. Mr. Kane, a guard called, unlocking the cell door. Your lawyer is here. Bail's posted. Colin was waiting for me in the processing area, his suit immaculate despite the hour. He was always the composed one in our partnership, even in a crisis. Russ, he said, clapping a hand on my shoulder. Let's go home. Is there still a home to go to? I asked. The house is fine. Lydia is gone. I sent a couple paralegals over to make sure she took only what was hers. The prenup is ironclad. You know that better than anyone, since you're the one who wrote it. In the car, Colin filled me in on what happened after they took me away. Gregory Nash was treated and released from County General Hospital. Just a flesh wound, nothing serious physically. His wife showed up at the hospital with divorce papers already drawn up. Lydia moved into her sister's place. For now, her lawyer called mine an hour ago. She's not going to contest the prenup. Good, I muttered, staring out the window as the city passed in a blur. She knows she'd lose. I shook my head. The legal battle ahead would be brutal, but it was familiar territory. In the courtroom, I would take back some of the control that had been stolen from me that night. "Take me home, Colin," I said. "I need a shower and about 12 hours of sleep before we start dismantling Gregory Nash's life." 3 days later, Colin arrived with breakfast and a leather briefcase overflowing with documents. He had been busy. "Gregory Nash," he said, spreading the files across my kitchen table. "He has an interesting history. 3 harassment complaints in the last 5 years, all settled quietly. His company, Meridian Corporation, has a pattern of protecting him. He's valuable to them. Brings in big clients, closes major deals." I took a sip of my coffee, my legal mind already starting to piece it together. "So, they enable his behavior." "Exactly. And it gets better. Mrs. Nash, Marissa, came to our office this morning. She wants to burn it all down. It seems Gregory has been playing this game for years. She has names, dates, text messages. She's willing to testify. More than willing, she's eager. She's already filed for full custody of the children, citing immoral conduct and parental unfitness. The birthday episode was the last straw. I shook my head, feeling a strange kinship with Marissa Nash. We were both betrayed by the people we trusted most. "Lydia?" I asked, the name still bitter in my mouth. "She's hired Valerie Cross." I raised an eyebrow. Valerie was good, one of the few divorce attorneys in the state I actually respected. "Smart choice." Valerie called this morning. "Lydia isn't fighting anything. She's waiving any claim to the house, the investments, everything not explicitly guaranteed to her in the prenup. She just wants her personal things and to move on." I nodded, my focus turning back to the files. "Now, about Nash and Meridian Corporation. I want them both to bleed." Colin smiled. "I thought you might say that." The offices of Meridian Corp took up the top 10 floors of a gleaming downtown skyscraper. 5 minutes after we arrived unannounced, flanked by a process server and a court stenographer, we were being escorted to the executive floor. Edward Langston, Meridian CEO, rose from behind his desk, extending a hand. His face was a mask of corporate pleasantry that didn't reach his eyes. "Mr. Kane, Mr. Mercer, to what do I owe the pleasure of this unexpected visit?" I ignored his hand. "You know exactly why we're here, Mr. Langston. Your VP of Operations, Gregory Nash, is having an affair with my wife, who happens to be his assistant. An affair taking place largely on company time and company property." Langston's smile faltered. "I'm very sorry to hear that, Mr. Kane, truly, but this sounds like a personal matter between you, your wife, and Mr. Nash." I signaled to the process server, who stepped forward and handed Langston a thick envelope. "It's your matter now. Meridian Corp is being sued for fostering a hostile work environment, for failure to enforce morality clauses, and for negligent supervision of a predator." Langston's face darkened as he scanned the documents. "These are serious allegations, Mr. Kane, with serious evidence to back them up," Colin added, "including testimony from several women who were harassed or coerced by Mr. Nash over the years." Langston's jaw tightened. "What exactly do you want here, Mr. Kane?" "Justice," I said simply, "and accountability. Your company allowed Nash to run unchecked for years, settling complaints quietly while he continued to victimize women. That ends today. Our legal team—" "Your legal team," Colin interrupted, "will advise you to settle this quickly and quietly. But we're not interested in quiet. Every motion, every filing, every deposition will be public record. The press will have a field day with this." Langston sank into his chair. "What would it take to resolve this amicably?" I leaned forward and laid out my terms, including the 7-figure sum that made Langston go pale. 2 days later, Langston called personally to accept our terms. 3 years later, the Hawaiian sunset painted the sky in shades of orange and gold as I stood on the balcony of my oceanfront condo, the very one that was almost a surprise for Lydia 3 years ago. I kept the reservation, postponed it 3 years, and finally decided to take the trip alone. My cell phone buzzed with a text message. Marissa Holt. She had gone back to her maiden name. Passed the bar exam. Celebrating with the kids tonight. Thanks for everything, Russ. I smiled and texted back my congratulations. Marissa had indeed become a formidable attorney. She clerked at our firm through law school and accepted a position in our family law division upon graduation. Her personal experience made her uniquely effective with clients dealing with the wreckage of betrayal. Gregory Nash's story took a darker turn. After being fired from Meridian, he struggled to find comparable employment. The scandal made him toxic in the corporate world. Last I heard, he was selling used cars in another state, living in a small apartment, and paying alimony and child support that consumed most of his income. And Lydia? I rarely thought of her. She moved to the West Coast shortly after the divorce. I heard through mutual acquaintances that she had rebuilt her life. New job, new friends. She never remarried. Neither had I. My phone rang. It was Colin Mercer, my partner, and the man who had stood by me through the darkest of days. Russ, he said when I answered. Sorry to bother you on vacation, but I thought you'd want a heads up. Lydia called the office today. She's back in town, staying at her sister's again. She asked if you'd be willing to meet with her. I felt a momentary tightening in my chest, but it passed quickly. What did you tell her? That you're out of the country and unavailable? I figured you didn't need that headache. I looked out at the darkening ocean. You did the right thing. Whatever she has to say, it's too little, too late. Figured as much. Colin paused. But there's something else. She's sick, Russ. Cancer. Advanced stage. The news hit me with an unexpected force. Despite everything, despite the betrayal and the pain she caused, I couldn't find any satisfaction in her suffering. How bad? I asked. Terminal. According to her sister. Months, not years. I closed my eyes, letting the information sink in. When I opened them again, the first stars were beginning to appear in the Hawaiian sky. I'll call her when I get back, I said finally, promising nothing more than that. After I hung up, I stood there for a long time, watching the waves. The vengeful satisfaction I expected to feel about Lydia never came. Instead, I felt a complex mixture of emotions. Residual anger, certainly, but also a strange sense of peace. Sometimes the most painful endings lead to the most necessary beginnings. I didn't want this path, didn't choose it. But standing there, watching the first stars appear over the Hawaiian sky, I could acknowledge that the man I became in the aftermath was stronger, wiser, and maybe even more whole than the one whose life fell apart that night. It wasn't the life I planned, but it was a good life. In the end, vengeance isn't always about destroying the other person. Sometimes, it's about rebuilding yourself into someone who no longer needs them. If you liked it, don't forget to leave a comment and support the channel by subscribing. See you in the upcoming stories.